Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Game Hub. I'm your host, GamerK, and it is time for another GamerK review. And this one is something that came out earlier this year. It's been a little over 10 years since a phenomenal game came right the hell out of nowhere as the PS4 was just getting online. And that game came from a studio that came right out of nowhere by a studio that not a lot of people kind of gave a lot of thought about, Don't Nod Entertainment. And I was one of those people. Seeing the trailer and everything, I thought this was going to be, okay, an obvious game. And yet what turned into a series where twists are abound and emotions run deep. From the Spanish Sahara to the obstacles in our way, we got Life is Strange. And it may be one of the few games I've ever played that genuinely shocked me to my core about a pick your own adventure game. Normally I was only playing those with Telltale and some other big games like Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls and Detroit Become Human. But never did I think that this game could garner an entire series, basically, of games. And if you can't tell from that amazing artwork that I've had for over a decade almost now, we are here at the end of the Partners in Time. Max and Chloe's story is now, as far as I can see, it's done with Life is Strange Reunion. Now, when they did Double Exposure a year ago, I was so freaking skeptical about it, about how they ended that. And then when it was announced that we got Chloe back, I'm like, okay. They've been reading a lot of fan fictions. They've been reading a lot of fan requests. And honestly, I'm one of those people who is very skeptical with this game. I was so skeptical because, okay, they're finally giving us Max and Chloe for once, and how are they going to do it? How is it going to really work and give fans something that we've been craving after 10 years? And then also the Before the Storm prequel that we got and made so many people bawling their eyes out. Or is this something that does feel like a fanfic fever dream? And is it something that should have been rewound and thought of better? Well, today I'm giving in and showcasing my opinions of the whole thing. Oh boy. So we start off with Chloe. You heard me right. We start off with Chloe. And again, one of the things I love about this game is that you got to pick how you ended the whole thing, just like you did with Double Exposure. So it obviously that they were setting up for this. Actually, now that I think about it, I think I said that in a previous review. If I did or didn't, who could remember? So we start off with Chloe. An excellent nod to another Life is Strange cast member. Stephanie's old ex-girlfriend's band, Drugstore Makeup. She's managing them, and they're late again. And then something happens, and Chloe is at a giant lighthouse that is resembling of the one in Arcadia Bay, with another frickin' storm, and she sees Safi and tries to locate Max. Now, I'm going to get to this point right now, is the way they brought about Chloe either being dead Okay. right off the get-go, I'm going to get to how they cleverly brought Chloe back in, depending on if you had her die or if you gave up Arcadia Bay. And when Max merged the two different universes, the life and death realities, when Safi died and when she didn't, somehow that merged the two universes where Chloe died and when she didn't together, which is why Chloe is having these flashbacks of her dead. And I'm not gonna lie, that's some actual good canon. So no matter which choice you guys picked, you can still play this game. And obviously you can input the choices that you made from the previous game, from double exposure in there to make sure it's to what you want. My only complaint though is everyone else who was affected by this whole thing in double exposure completely forgets about the two parallels colliding. Except for Safi for some reason. And also Moses, who is, again, great character, and I'm glad they kept him around. Obviously, Max basically kept him up to date with everything that happened because she needed at least one person who could help her with stuff. And I do love that. So, what does this whole reunion have to do? Well, after Max returns from a weekend trip for her photos, she finds Caledon a fucking blaze, where there is so much going on. Protesters about the expansion and the destruction of a new addition building being built for the school at the old Abraxas house. And for some reason, the death of the journalist girl, Loretta. Loretta, right? I'm making sure. Yeah, Loretta. Yeah, the one who's the journalist. And the fire. And then Moses is on the roof with someone in his hands, and it turns out to be Chloe for some reason. So Chloe obviously went to visit Max. She wasn't there, so she got along with Moses, and somehow that happened. So using her old ability that she hasn't done in years, Max uses the photo she took of the day she left for the weekend, calls the book agent and says that change of plans. So the countdown has begun, and we have 3 days to solve the mystery of the fire, the protest, and what happened to Loretta. And I'm going to be honest, I don't like how they fucking did this game. Right from the get-go, I'm going to start on a few negative bits. And one of the big negatives here is they don't do chapters in this. Like, if the game was split into chapters, I could easily immerse myself with that particular chapter. Interacting with all the characters thing, and then everything we do passes over, like it did in Double Exposure. I would have loved it. But they make it scenes in one big game. And there's a total of 32 scenes. And I can't believe they've done this. Luckily, Max and Chloe's gameplay is split between these 32 scenes. So 16 apiece. So it's half and half. Unfortunately, half the time, it doesn't feel that way because a lot of Chloe's sections start, and then we go right back to Max. Almost in an instant. Chloe's one chapter, when we first take control of her, is when we're at the bar. The Snapping Turtle. And we're outside of it, and we just have to figure out a way to get inside because the security guard won't let us in. And then we get into an argument with one of the guys and then when we walk into the bar, it cuts to Max again. Really? And then the next time we're in Chloe, we're inside the bar. Like I said, it's almost like Chloe's sections were deliberately cut short. And honestly, that's a big issue for me because we haven't seen Chloe in years. And that's, again, a big problem. When you go for the effort of bringing a character back, maybe spend time with them. I get a little frustrated with this because I've been playing as Max twice now. Twice. And as much fun as it is to play Chloe in this game, it's just not on the levels of what before the storm was. Also, she's got her green hair and her amazing tattoo is blacked out. What design choice was necessary for that, for her forgetting Rachel? No, seriously, what the hell? Ugh. All right, so over kind of going through the story, after Max takes her class outside to do a little bit of photography before the end of the week, or before the end of the first day, a student we don't know basically helps us with our photography, but we start to get the feeling that it's Safi. Yeah. Remember the X-Men wannabe who went off to find other people like her? Almost forgot. I had to look this up. The timeline for between exposure and this is 9 months. 9 goddamn months at minimum. Unless that's the number. Honestly, I can't even get a proper timeline with this. I have no freaking clue how long it took. But it's long enough for Safi to have gone off on her own and returned for some reason. Because she's also, when we finally talk to her, she's been getting visions of Chloe as well. Great. The women who die around Max are now commingling in a club. Man, that's honestly a little weird. But it kind of gives a lot of moments later on in the game. So Safi is playing a game of cat and mouse with us by shape-shifting into anyone else. And it makes for some fun moments in the chapters. So we obviously got our rewind powers back, which I'm so thankful for. Honestly, it was as much as I love the double exposure powers, it was kind of a pain in the ass having to talk to 2 different people, the same person, 2 different ways, instead of just finding the information that we want and then rewinding so we can just fix it. That saved my ass a lot in this game. So for the first part of the game, we have to deal with the new guy, Owen, who doesn't really care for Max that much and the arts and wants more science stuff, which is why a new annex will be built where the old Abraxas house is. Did we go to that house in this? I don't think so. So it's supposed to be demolished, and the demolition was moved up. So after we did a little bit of investigating in the Abraxas house, we find obviously Loretta. And then it turns out that the demolition was pushed forward without consent, and now we are in a time against the clock to disable them and save Loretta's life. This is the instant where we do change one aspect of one of the photos that we took. That since Loretta Loretta originally went in there for her podcast to expose the truth about some corruption doing with the building. She went to investigate herself, and then she died in the unauthorized explosion, which resulted in the march for her, which means that is now done because we saved her in this timeline. And that's when Max and Chloe get their reunion, which I believe is to Spanish Sahara, which is honestly, I kind of cried at that moment. Unfortunately, that is where a lot of the good stuff in the game kind of end for me a little bit. Because once we get Max and Chloe together, they obviously talk things out about if Chloe died or if she didn't. Chloe tells Max that she had visions that she died and everything. So it's a whole cluster F that's pretty much explained fairly quickly, which is kind of good. I'm glad they don't linger on this for so long. And also going back a little bit, Chloe's ability, the back talk is back, where we used it in After the Storm, where she back talks stuff, try to be clever, and is able to talk her way out of a situation. Unfortunately, it's not exactly used that much in this game. It is so underused, and it's a pain in the ass. Even Chloe's collectibles aren't even good. I mean, Max can take photos of the cool things in each section, and you can either keep it the way it is, or you can double expose it and give it a really, really cool, some really cool effects. My problem is that Chloe's are sketches now in her book. And I kept track. There are a total of 19 photos from Max and 7 sketches for Chloe. Seriously, they brought her back and they didn't utilize her enough, from the lack of exploration in her sections, the severe lack of her using back talk a good majority of the times, to primarily Chloe almost not really interacting with anyone. It almost seems like she's only there for cutscenes and certain aspects. See, that's something that doesn't really sit well with me, because again, I've said it before in this review, and I'll say it again, when you bring a character back for a new game, you better, and if they're a playable character, you better make sure that you use them smartly. And that is something I really, really don't think they did right here with Chloe. It's like she's here, yay, fandom restored. Now what do we do with her? Most of the investigating is mostly with Max. And it's a pain. Ugh. Oh, speaking of pain, remember when we were given the option of either romancing Vin, who I still thought it was a kind of a bit of a jack, and he does prove to be a jack a little bit in this game. Like in the one section where there's a silent auction, Max bids, and then he'll overbid her at the last minute. But if you rewind time and take the pen, that's actually a secret achievement. I will admit, having secret achievements in some sections are great. I'm not going to lie. Some of them are actually pretty interesting. But again, it just feels like a lot of the chapters are sections. I keep saying chapters because I'm expecting that. The sections are short. A lot of them feel short. And again, especially Chloe's sections. Or romance Vin or Amanda. And then it doesn't matter because somehow they broke up. They decided it was like nothing with Max. This was basically done in order for all you fans out there to finally reconnect Max and Chloe and get that relationship that you guys want, either with friendship or something more. And honestly, I don't mind it. As you can see, big Price Field fan. I love them together. And again, that image is just absolutely fantastic. But my problem is, if you're going to structure something like this, don't give us an option that is then written off. I am okay with some drama happening, and there's no drama about it. When Amanda, Chloe, or Vin interact with Chloe, when they interact with Chloe, there's no real drama. I feel like Chloe would get Amanda would get a little jealous, considering she kind of had a thing with Chloe, or Vin had a thing with Max. Sorry, and then when she comes back into town and everything, I was expecting something. Like a little cattiness from Chloe once Max kind of explains some things. Like, there's not even a fun moment like there. Like, if you did date either of them and you reunite with Chloe, she doesn't bring anything up. So, what was the point of them, of Max having these moments with them in Double Exposure? Again, Double Exposure was basically a catapult to lift us off, to launch us into Reunion. Oh, and speaking of annoyances, like I said, they got rid of some great characters like Gwen and Diamond. And I actually liked their stories. They were so interesting. And Diamond having a nosebleed and finding out she may have a power. Yeah, that's completely fucking written off too. Not even brought up at all. I mean, Safi does explain that Diamond wanted to go do stuff on her own and everything and not work on this crusade that Safi had at the end of the game, but goddamn, written off again. Okay. I am talking way too down about this game. But you know what? I'm going to continue. Because not only did they get rid of two great characters, okay, I'm going to be honest, they do keep some good ones. Like again, Loretta the journalist. I do love her investigative spirit. And one thing I did, and I didn't even think of beforehand, I did, and I completely saved face. And also Reggie, who's, yeah, kind of on like the high-strung side and everything. I feel like he is somewhat Nathan Prescott without the ego. So that kind of felt really, really, really good. Helping out these two characters and using Max to really help with some of the characters. But a problem I find is that, again, Chloe barely interacts with anyone. Barely. And like, you have these great characters that know Max for a while now, so why wouldn't Chloe like have a moment and talk with some of her students to try to get some information, and also ask what Max has been like as a teacher? I mean, they barely touch on this, and it's not like the big mystery or anything is right up front. Like, we don't get that until like the near the halfway of the game. And by the way, the mystery, I kind of called it, guys, because I've been on this Life is Strange train for a while. I did not play number 2. Honestly, I tried it a little bit at my cousin's. It was boring. I didn't care for it that much. But, oh my God. The mystery aspect of this game was fine if you've never played True Colors. Because almost immediately, I kind of got what I kind of guessed right off the bat, and apparently, I was right. It was the whole thing with the Abraxas house that's being demolished, and when we find out that it was moved ahead of schedule illegally, I'm like, okay, what are they hiding? Because we already had that in True Colors, where the demolition was, or the rock slide was pushed up illegally in order to cover up what happened. And I was kind of wondering what happened, what's the mystery. But I'll get to that part in a good moment. But one thing I skipped over it twice because it bugs me to no end. They got rid of great characters. They kept some really, really good characters along, and gave them some moments where we investigate them and where we help them through certain predicaments. But they kept... I'm going to read this off very carefully. They kept Lucas and Yasmin. I'm just going to bring this back to people. So the guy who plagiarized a student's idea, who then herself, which is why Safi was on that whole revenge tour in the last game. He's allowed back on campus. And he is one of the main reasons for the goddamn protest that happens. So he did that. And we showed proof about it. And everyone just forgets about it. And Yasmin, the one who sent Safi on her fucking spiral, who stopped her book and screwed over other characters in this game in order to protect her because of her friend who died, to help her get justice a little bit and for Safi's book to be published or manuscript. But no, that was killed by her own mother. And in this game, she asks us to let us know if Safi maintained contact with us for a while. And obviously, no, I don't fucking trust you. And first Life is Strange, I was thrown for a loop about Jefferson. That is on me and everyone who first played the game. True Colors and Before the Storm, I was taken aback by Rachel's father and goddamn Jed. 100% my fault. I got double tricked. But, no. I knew these two were going to be an issue. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, well, motherfucker, quack, quack, it's a fucking duck. Oh, I can't believe how right I was about these two. Here's the thing. Why keep these two, the two people that caused Safi the biggest problems, and technically the antagonists of this game, of the last game, and keep them? Were no consequences done for them? Oh. Okay. So I've gone to no end about a lot of my negative gripes about this, and I'm sorry. I have to be, even though I'm a Life is Strange fan, I have to be 100% honest, or else what is the point of reviewing something if you can't be brutally honest about it? I've seen the scores for this game, 9 8s. As much as I disagree, and I do think there are some aspects of this game that are enjoyable. Like, again, having Chloe and Max again. Chloe obviously being herself, like, instead of going through a complicated plan and everything, she just swipes Safi's purse, tosses it in the lake before grabbing the mask, giving the mask to Max, and then rewinding time so it didn't happen. And then that scene, that moment in the boat, I'm not going to lie, that was actually a pretty cute moment. And then also, Max got high, which that moment was a little trippy. At the Abraxas Maimon party, which I thought was going to be the source of, I thought was going to be a source of the fire, but it turns out it wasn't, so I'm glad about that. So, yeah, again, in this game, the whole mystery aspect of finding out what's going on with the demolition of the Abraxas house, what started the protesting, and what started the fire that caused the school to go ablaze. And it's very interesting of how they do this. Because a thing is that because we saved Loretta in the demolition of the house, we stopped one event from happening, which also kind of created two other aspects of the story, which, again, I do like. It does have the time travel paradox kind of going, where we stopped one bad situation from happening, but it splinters off and creates two more that we have to contend with. Because after... Okay. I'm going to spoil a little thing, is that at this party at the Abraxas house, we find out that someone in a mask attacks Reggie, who's in the forbidden basement. And there was digging supplies there in a hidden room. I'm like, oh, dear God, it's a cover-up. Of course, it's a goddamn cover-up. I'm like, okay, what is it? Someone had a whole bunch of blackmail opportunity on someone, and if the house goes up, the evidence goes up. No, it's an actual fucking dead corpse. It's a skeleton. So, the Abraxas blow up was to cover up a dead body that was hidden in the Abraxas house basement. Seriously? You're rehashing from goddamn Life True Colors? Really? Okay. I guess if it could hurt someone, I guess the mystery, and then the mystery, once that is found out, the person who attacked us comes back and gets the body. And then as we get out of the house, there's a message written, "You'll burn." So, like I said, we prevented the reason of the fire before the destruction of Abraxas house, and this threat is still lingering. Also, I will say at that moment of the game, we do get some really, really cute moments with Hi Max and Chloe just enjoying this whole situation. My God, I've been talking about this to no end. And once we gather a lot of the evidence and the information that we get, it turns out that the jackass from the start of the game was a big red herring. And he didn't know nothing about this. And honestly, I put fucking 2 and 2 together to find out what happened with this body. And it goddamn turns out, obviously, it was Yasmin. She's the only alumni who was probably there at the time at this Abraxas party. And by using Max's abilities to go into the photos a little bit of what happened, it turns out someone snuck into the Abraxas party years ago, kind of got high on the spike punch, and in a hallucination himself. So, dead body at a party, and it had to be covered up. Yeah. Of course that's what it was. Yasmin is always responsible for something here. And then also it was the protest that happened because of Lucas who's responsible for the doors being locked in the main building, which results in the fire killing a bunch of people. Now, if you play smart, though, you can save pretty much everyone. Telling the janitor to steer clear. When Loretta helps you in the library of investigating something and you give her a quote, I did this because here's the thing. Knowing certain character tropes, I kind of figured something was going to happen. And since she already put herself in danger already with that goddamn Abraxas house, once I got all the information I needed from Loretta before I left the library, I rewound time so she forgot everything that we talked about. So she had no clue. And that ended up saving my ass and saving her life because she wasn't in danger. The security guard successfully, as Chloe, convince her that you're a visiting student, and then give her the gas mask as Max near the end. And also, if you gain her trust as Chloe, tell her to suspect the right person of arson, and they will prevent the fire. The dead body, on the other hand, that's another thing where you have to find them as Max. I'm not revealing anything about it because I don't want to spoil too much. But basically, you just give another chance to someone. I do like, though, how they gave 2 different fires and gave Chloe and Max an opportunity to stop both of them. That is pretty good writing. Instead of having one thing be the problem, create 2. And again, because we stopped the demolition of the Abraxas house, and that would have destroyed the body evidence, we created a split timeline where the other person sets another fire. But then, obviously, Life is Strange loves throwing goddamn twists at us. And they do something else that starts the fire in an absolute kind of fate, giving you the middle finger in this game. Where you gotta do a lot of saving again. And honestly, I don't mind it. It's actually a well thought out BS way to have the fire anyway, because no matter what, it's kind of like when Chloe kept dying at least once in every episode of Life is Strange, because no matter what you do, she'll die in some way anyway. So it's kind of like the paradox laughing at you. Oh, Lord, I've been talking to death about this. Let's see. Oh, also, at the end of this game, do Yasmin and Lucas have any comeuppance for inciting a riot or what she did? Absolutely fucking no. The 2 biggest villains in this game get 0 comeuppance for what they did. The one arsonist gets blocked away if you're smart enough to figure it out and prevent it. So that's actually pretty good, at least. Like, one arsonist gets put away. Yay for revenge. I'm not going to explain too much because I kind of figured it out again, but at the same time, it's a meh reveal. Like, it's nothing on the lines of when Jefferson became the Criminal Minds type monster, or when Jed was the monstrous traitor and manipulator. It's nothing on those levels. So I doubt I'll ever be putting anything from these 2 games in any top list for anything, but seriously, Yasmin covered up a death for years. tried to have the building destroyed many years later for the expansion. Again, covered it up. Just literally destroyed a lot of trust with her daughter, which near the end of the game, we find a way to get them kind of talking again. And Lucas fucking inciting a riot and a protest for bullshit reasons. I mean, he's a lying psycho who we proved he plagiarized the student. And with Yasmin's help, discredited her, and that's why she's dead. Zero comeuppance for these two. And that is a big issue for me. Like, come on! And we act like it's normal. And everything else. Here's the best way I can explain it. I loved the start and the first middle of the game. And then once it got after the Abraxas party thing, it started to spiral down to less investigating and just putting the pieces together too early with no real full investigation. So, first bit was fun and enjoyable. The other half feels so rushed that it's not even funny. I will, however, say that some of the optional trophies in this game are fun to do. For example, find every evidence in the game in a single playthrough. That means no restarting chapters from restarting sections from the start. You gotta do it all one playthrough, which is challenging. Stop both fires, save everyone. Listen to all the podcasts. Fun. And this game encourages a double playthrough. One where Chloe was dead from the start, and one where Chloe was alive at the start. I'll probably replay that and do the different choices some in a few years or something, like replay it. It doesn't give me something that I want to replay it immediately. Because, again, having to replay a great first half and a boring, rushed last half is not something I'm really keen on doing. So, that's my opinion. Overall, Reunion takes at most 9.5 hours to fully complete. And if you're a completionist, getting every trophy, which will also include replaying the game twice, so that's basically about 18.5 hours of total gameplay. Which, again, not as bad as one would think. And the ending is somewhat okay. I mean, if you didn't save pretty much everyone, there's a bit of a eulogy for those who lost their lives in the fire. But if you do your due diligence and think things through, there is the best way to get everyone alive. Safi reconnects, and Max and Chloe reunite. And the last choice makes zero sense. Where Max joins Chloe photographing her and her band on the road. Moses sends Chloe a photo from beforehand, and you have the option of allowing her to rewind time or something, or to burn the picture up. So you can, like, the whole thing kind of stems that Chloe is destined to die of some sort, but it's full on vagueness about the ending. It's not it's not explained super well, and they keep mentioning that Chloe is kind of destined to die and everything in the paradoxical way. But why bring that up in a game where we brought her back after 10 years? Seriously, it's almost like everything about this game was all over the place half the time. where some gameplay aspects were rushed or not that well used, or some of the moments in the game were kind of cobbled together and it was selected by a dartboard also. Like, I still like the game. I do. But there were just some things that made it not what it was supposed to be. And that's something I can't fully get behind. So, oh, God, I might get, if this review gets to a lot of Life is Strange fans, I may be getting some serious hate for this. But at the same time, I have to be fully honest. Double Exposure did things a little bit differently of what it was supposed to be, but at least it had interesting moments, interesting mystery, and characters that actually made me want to continue, and actual chapters that made the game feel better. This feels like it's half of what a Life is Strange game should be, and that alone is what I feel after completing this game. It's a half game, and that is why GamerK's final verdict for Life is Strange Reunion deserves what I said, a 5 out of 10. It is... It's not what I wanted. I mean, they got some things right, but I believe that was more for fan service and to satisfy the Life is Strange community than to actually make something that was something bombastic. So yes, it gets a few things right. It gets a lot of things bad. It's the best and the worst of what this game has been. And that's why I gave it this rating. Because this game is half. It's half of what it used to be 10 years ago. The mystery, the intrigue, the characters, the interaction with these characters in the world. And there's just, like I said, half. That's what it is. And that's all I gotta say about it. And that's my review, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys are okay with my comments. I really, really hope I'm not bombarded. Well, I probably won't be bombarded. But overall, that's my opinion of Life is Strange Reunion. And it doesn't negate how I feel about Max and Chloe. It just negates how I feel that this game didn't end or feel what it could have been. Thank you for joining me, ladies and gentlemen. Like, comment, subscribe down below. Join me next time, where I'm going to take a little bit of a break as we play my favorite game again and see what the cards will tell as we learn to play the wicked villainous game with some help from friends on the other side. This is GamerK, logging out.